President of Argentina, Alberto Fernández, delivered the traditional annual speech at the opening of the Congress sessions. Greek Transport Minister Kostas Karamanlis resigned after that deadly train collision in the country left 36 people dead and 85 injured so far. In Nigeria, the leader of the ruling All Progressive Congress Party, Bola Tinubu, was declared winner of the national presidential elections. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. And we continue with our news. The President of Argentina, Alberto Fernández, delivered on Wednesday the traditional annual speech at the opening of the Congress sessions. The Argentinian President addressed the traditional Legislative Assembly in which he presented the economic and social challenges of the last year of his administration and inaugurated a new legislative year in the country. Vice President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner was in charge of the formal record of the ADA, receiving and escorting the President to the Senate. During his speech, President Fernández outlined the economic and social challenges in his last year in office. The country will hold general elections in October 2023. In his speech before the Congress, President Alberto Fernández asked the justice systems to punish the material and the intellectual authors of the murder attempt against Vice President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner.
6 months ago, we were faced with one of the most unfortunate episodes of the last 4 years, the assassination attempt against our Vice President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. And in front of all of you, I once again ask the justice system to deepen the investigation of that event, to judge and condemn those who were the material and intellectual authors of that murder attempt.
The Argentine leader also discussed his administration management of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I was able to confront the private creditors, and I was able to put a stop to the conditions that the International Monetary Fund had imposed on the government I presided over. I was the one who put the burden on the pandemic and who finished building hospitals that some governors had considered unnecessary when I arrived. And I was the one who built modular hospitals and distributed more than 40,000 ventilators throughout the country, while I set up a health system that had been abandoned. I went around the world looking for vaccines for COVID-19, and I arranged for millions of free doses to be given to every Argentinian who demanded.
Fernández also spoke about the management of his administrations in regard to the foreign policy and regional integration.
These years of management, we have developed a foreign policy based on cooperative multilateralism. We strongly support peace, international security, peaceful solutions, and environmental care. In all forms, we advocate for cooperative, equalitarian solutions to the major problems. Argentina has returned to occupy a place in the concert of nations. We did, based on our identity and defending our interests. We raised our voice in the CELAC, in Mercosur, in the Americas Summit, in the G20, and in the G7. We aspire to be part of the BRICS. We dialogue with the leaders of the world seeking to contribute to the world peace and Latin American unity. Argentina has permanent interest in maintaining a close relationship with Brazil. It's one of them.
In Ecuador, university students' organizations demand the resignation of the President Guillermo Lasso or the activation of the constitutional mechanisms for his removal. gathered outside the Central University of Ecuador. The students' leaders point out that in addition to the legal acts, the current government does not guarantee the basis budget for the public education. They mentioned that the Central University is owned $10 million by the state, and the University of Guayaquil is owned more than $5 million, thus cutting funds for the training of professionals. Lazo's government was very weakened after the electoral setback of his proposal for a constitutional referendum, and there are the predictions that he will not reach the end of his term scheduled for 2025. In Ecuador, the Legislative Commission investigating the corruption case which involved President Guillermo Lasso summoned a new session to discuss a report presented on Tuesday, which suggests that the impeachment of the Ecuadorian head of state. Within the session, the document that points to the president's political responsibilities in what became known as a Great Godfather, the case will be debated and voted on. Later on Friday, the plenary session of the National Assembly will do the same. The ongoing investigation looks into an alleged corruption scheme regarding appointments and contracts within the public companies, as well as revealed in January by local media. The alleged links between Lasso's governments and drug trafficking and the Albany Mafia are also under investigation. In Puerto Rico, labor, civil, and environmental organizations gathered on Tuesday to protest against the electricity bill increase proposed by the adjustment plan that seeks to pay the debt contracted by the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority. The demonstrations denounced the increases of the rate charges since 2021, when electricity distribution was assigned into the head of the private company Luma Energy. Puerto Rico's power grid has become very fragile in recent decades, a situation that has worsened in the last 3 years as energy production has been below 50%. Puerto Rico believes that since the arrival of Luma to control the island's electricity distribution service has not been improved, but rather that the cost of service has been increased in a way that is sustainable for many citizens and businesses. On Tuesday, Cuba's Foreign Affairs Minister U.S. granted political asylum to Cuban citizens Ruben Martinez, who hacked a civilian aircraft in October 2022 with pardon to enter the U.S. illegally. A few days before, the ministry issued 4 verbal notes to request the deportation of Martinez, whom it accused of committing an act of piracy. Cuban authorities also demand the return of the stolen aircraft, property of the National Air Service Company. Cuba's Foreign Affairs Vice Minister Carlos Fernández Cosio demanded the crime before the U.S. charges the affairs on the island Benjamin Swift at the bilateral meeting held on Monday. Fernandez stressed that air piracy constitute offenses under several international conventions ratified by Cuba and the U.S. He also stressed that Martinez violated U.S. airspace and granting him political asylum violates the Declaration of Migration signed by Cuba and the U.S. on January 12, 2017 to counteract irregular immigration. Let's take a very short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Tens of thousands of health workers took to Madrid's streets once again, demanding that a negotiating table be set up to discuss wage increases. The demonstrations took place despite measures taken by the Ministry of Health that include increasing the budget from improving worker conditions by 55 million euros, with a supplement of 400 euros per month for every patient treated, plus 50 euros per hour for those who extend their working day. However, the strike cabinet stated that 400 euros supplemented is determined detrimental to another already in place, and added the increase of the 50 euros per hour have been in force since 2019. On Wednesday, the Greece Transport Minister Kastan Kramenglis resigned after a deadly train collision that has left 36 people dead and 85 injured so far. Rescuers keep searching through the burning out weekend of two trains that slammed into each other in northern Greece. Former Minister Karalami said that he felt that it was his duty to step down as a way to show respect for the victims. Transportation authorities said that the causes of the incident remain unclear, but train unionists said the station matters was overlooking infrastructure problems in the railway line that allegedly had been known for years. In an open letter, Ferrari train staff has said track safety systems were incomplete and poorly maintained. Likewise, a safety supervisor had resigned last year, warning that infrastructure upgrades pending since 2016 were incomplete and that the train speed up to 200 kilometers per hour were unsafe. In this context, the estimators in the nearby city of Larissa was arrested. Members of the new Cypriot government were sworn before President Kynos Christodoulou at the presidential palace in the capital Nicosia. Previously, on Tuesday, Nikos Christodoulou was sworn in as the 8th president of the Republic of Cyprus, pledging to address the issue of illegal migration and combat corruption. The former foreign minister also vowed to break the deadlock that has left the eastern Mediterranean island divided for decades. Christodoulou won over Andreas Myronis in a runoff vote in February the 12th. This was the first time a head of state was elected without the support of the two largest parties, the Democratic Rally and the Progressive Party of Workers' People, and it means the now president has a minority support in parliament. Finnish Parliament's vote on Wednesday in favor of joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in advance of pending the ratifications from Hungary and Turkey, increasing the likelihood the country will enter the alliance before Sweden. Finnish lawmakers approved the law affirming that the nation accepts the term of the NATO treaty by 184 votes against 7, with 1 abstention and 7 members of parliament not being present. Both Finland and Sweden dropped their decades-long policies of military non-alignment and applied to join the transatlantic defense pact last May. And Turkish authorities confirmed the toll from the earthquake as attacks at the south of the country rose to more than 45,000. In a statement, the Turkish Interior Ministry confirmed that 55,800 citizens were killed by the earthquake, while over 1.9 million were evacuated from the disaster zone. The statement quoted that those who lost their homes were accommodated in more than 300,000 tents and container houses. The earthquake of magnitude 7.7 and 7.6 occurred with the interval of 9 hours in Turkey on February the 6th. Underground shocks followed by the hundreds of aftershocks were felt in Turkey, 11 provinces, for which Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has declared a 3-month state of emergency. Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Wednesday ruled out any delay in elections after the devastating earthquake in February and said a vote will be held on May the 14th.
You should know that people will do what is necessary on May 14th. They will never give a chance to those who keep on telling such lies.
teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat, dial 461 and UNR Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. President Xi Jinping received on Wednesday in Beijing his Belarusian counterpart Alexander Lukashenko. In the meeting, both leaders agreed on a new status of bilateral relations between the nations. According to the China's president, the relationship was reached a new level of comprehensive strategic partnership. For his part, President Lukashenko reaffirmed the unbreakable partnership between Minsk and Beijing and the firm commitment of the two leaders to world peace and stability. The Belarusian president also announced a process of industrial moderation in his country with the support of China. Responding to comments from Federal Bureau of Investigation's Director Christopher O'Brien, Chinese Foreign Minister spokeswoman Mao Ning dismissed United States speculations that the COVID-19 pandemic originated from the virus linking from the Chinese laboratory.
Opposes any political manipulation with the origins tracing in any form. Employing the intelligence community in science matters is in itself the evidence of the politicization of origin tracing. Given that the U.S. intelligence community has been making things up, their conclusion lacks credibility. By rehashing lab leak theory, the U.S. will not succeed in discrediting China. Instead, it would only hurt their own credibility. We urge the U.S. to respect science and facts, stop politicizing origin tracing, stop turning origin tracing into something about politics and intelligence, and stop disrupting global social solidarity when it comes to combating COVID-19 and global scientific cooperation on origin tracing.
In India, the meeting of G20 foreign ministers kicked off on Wednesday in New Delhi. The meeting follows the one held by G20 finance minister, which ended the day before without a final declaration because of opposing views regarding the conflict in Ukraine. These foreign ministers' meetings gathered 40 delegations, including representatives from 13 international organizations. India's Foreign Secretary Vanya Khatrap said that once again the armed conflict in Ukraine will be one of the main issues to be discussed. He also said India believes that these are not times for war but for diplomacy. Both U.S. State Department Secretary Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov are attending the meeting. Other issues to be addressed include multilateralism, food and energy security, the fight against terrorism and drug, and international development in general. On Wednesday, the Iranian government expelled two German diplomats for Berlin's interference in internal Persian affairs. Iran's decision follows Germany's February 2022 expulsion of two Iranian diplomats in response to the death sentence in Iran of Iran citizen Yassim Sherman, accused of heading a terrorist group. Iran Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanini said that two German diplomats have been expelled due to Germany's irresponsible interference in Iran's internal and justice affairs. And on Wednesday in Nigeria, the leader of the ruling All Progressive Congress Party, Bola Tinubu, was declared a winner of the national presidential election. Muhammad Yakubu, chair of the Independent National Electoral Commission, announced that Bola Tinubu 70-year-old won the elections in Nigeria with 8.8 million votes against the 6.8 million which went to the opposition leader Atiku Abubakar and the 6.1 million received by Peter Obi. The proclamation of Tinubu as a winner, however, did not go smoothly. Since the titling of the ballot began, opposition delegates have denounced inconsistencies in the transmission of the voting data through the internet, along with shady deadlines at several voting centers. While outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari said that Tinubu is the ideal person for the job and assured an orderly transfer of power, the main opposition parties of Atiku and Obi have rejected the results as fraudulent. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also use us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm from the South. I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.